Well, many discussions in 2016 did center around the election, and whether you are celebrating or stressed over the outcome, most can agree they're at least glad the campaign is over. But beyond the horse race of a unique election, Stay Tuned explored local and national issues in 2016, hoping to inform voters, starting with primary ballots, going right through the general election.
Our producer Maya Northfleet sat down this week with some first-time voters, some first-time to be eligible voters. Not all of them have voted. Let's hear what they have to say, what they're feeling about 2016.
I mean, I feel like it's important because you want to choose who the nomination is for whatever party that you're going to vote for. I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was asking her if she was going to vote and who she was voting for, and she was like, "Oh, I don't vote." And I was like, "Well, I mean, why wouldn't you vote? And if you don't, you can't really complain about the situation."
What are the things that you're like really needing a candidate to pay attention to?
So I really don't like how our education system is currently set up, just the way that it's funded, and I don't like how socioeconomic status can essentially determine the success of a child.
I feel like there's such a division in our country right now, and I want to see the United States become united again, honestly, because I don't think anything can happen until we all kind of see each other as people.
When I do talk to mostly adults, they try and disregard the opinions of millennials, and people tend to think that some of the things that we want are unrealistic.
It's just because we don't vote. There's so many young people that don't vote.
I'm just really surprised by the narrative of the outsider, the career politician being a demerit, when Koster knows a lot about state government. Teresa Hensley knows a lot about prosecuting cases and running large offices. You've got some really competent people that are being derided as career politicians.
Roy Blunt knows a lot about Washington?
He does. He's a career politician, and that's one of the pluses for me in terms of Blunt's and candor coming up against Blunt. But if you want an accountant, you want a career accountant. If you want a plumber, you want a career plumber. If you want a journalist, you want a career journalist. So career politicians shouldn't be a slam, but they're getting away with doing that in the advertising.
I think it's a slam. I think, the mood in the country right now is that we don't want more career politicians, and the reason for that is because we have not gotten the results that we were promised over and over and over again. And for Republicans in the midterm last time, a lot of huge promises were made. Just give us Congress, just give us the Senate. So the grassroots and a lot of people who do donations, small and large, they delivered, and what they received was nothing. Lots of gridlock, lots of promises broken, and lots of missed and unreturned phone calls and emails, and legislators who spent a lot of time in Washington but weren't available when they were here in the state of Missouri. And that's why the career politician label is a negative. It's something that if you're labeled with it and you can't adequately explain how you've been a good career politician, it's a negative for you.
The problem with that, and I understand why it plays, and there's no doubt it plays with a lot of voters. I live out in West County, and I think that outsider thing plays with a lot of voters in West County. However, when the primary candidate for governor, in this case Eric Greitens, who's campaigning as the outsider, the two primary candidates in the state campaigning as an outsider are Democrat Jason Kander for the U.S. Senate and Republican Eric Greitens for governor. When Greitens is campaigning as an outsider and yet is surrounding himself with most of the same insiders that have been electing and advising the career politicians, it comes off as shallow. When he campaigns as the guy who's going to clean up ethics and then takes possibly the most unethical $2 million donation in the state's history, it comes off as shallow. And I think that's where ultimately it'll be interesting to see what the voters say. The voters may, in fact, completely support what Stacey's saying in terms of if the voters select the outsiders, then that model is going to be with us here for a while. But I think it's pretty shallow. It's not a deep enough reason to vote for somebody just because they're saying, I don't have any experience, so send me because I got to be better than the next.
You mentioned polls just a little bit ago, and you have experience polling. What did we miss? What did the polls miss? What did the journalists miss in what people were trying to say or what they said in this election? If they were willing to vote for someone who is right to work and they work for, and they have a union job.
Well, what polls didn't miss was change, and that was the main reason by far for voting for Obama in 2008. And people look for change and it doesn't happen. A lot of promises are made, and now that was the main reason for voting for Trump this year, and probably for Greitens as well. And people are really naive about that. They vote for these people thinking they're going to get change, and politicians just can't produce that change they want. Joe was mentioning, about, bringing back these factories that have gone out of business. It's bringing back the coal industry. These things aren't going to happen. And pollsters have been measuring this kind of thing for a long time. People like to bring in new politicians because they promise change, and then, of course, the same broken promises are made.